The Adventures of Captain Hunab Ku, The Birth of a Legend. This is a dramatic fictional story about a man, part human, part robot, who is one of the strongest, most trained and intelligent soldiers, considered by many to be a legend, who is part of the army, admired by many and hated by others, especially by the army commanders who see him as a danger in his desire to have all the power and impose his wishes on all the soldiers and inhabitants of the colony. A fierce human warrior clad in robotic armor, Captain Hunab Ku was once among the elite soldiers of the Alpha Centauri colonial forces. Known for his unshakable spirit and loyalty to true justice, he openly defied the corrupt military commanders who sought to seize control of the colonial government. His rebellion came at a cost. Branded a traitor, he was exiled to a distant, hostile planet, a place teeming with savage, otherworldly creatures and unforgiving landscapes. On this alien world, survival is a daily battle. But Captain Hunab Ku refuses to surrender. His robotic armor, a marvel of human engineering, able to adapt and evolve to threats, protects him as he faces the planet's countless dangers. Though cut off from humanity, his resolve burns brighter than ever. Captain Hunab Ku fights not only for survival but to one day return and ignite the flames of revolution against those who betrayed the ideals he once swore to protect. Captain Hunab Ku had become more than a soldier, he was a symbol. His legend grew, whispered among the exiled and the oppressed across the colonies, a myth born of fire and fury. On the savage planet, known only as Uxmal 9, Hunab Ku carved out a territory where no other human dared to tread. He built alliances with the strange, primal beings that roamed the wilds, learning their ways, mastering their ancient knowledge of survival, and weaving it into his own formidable skill set. His robotic armor, once a gleaming badge of service, evolved alongside him. Scarred, reforged, and imbued with alien technology scavenged from the ruins of forgotten civilizations, it became a living extension of his will, a shield against the beasts of the world and the ghosts of his past. At night, Hunab Ku would gaze toward the sky, toward the distant blue star where Earth's legacy now struggled under the weight of tyranny. He had not forgotten the oath he once took, nor the betrayal that had shattered his former life. He was biding his time, forging himself into something greater than any army could produce, a force born of exile, hatred, and unbreakable honor. Some people say that had been merciless here. Every creature had adapted to kill. Hunab Ku's armor became both his weapon and his lifeline. It was equipped with a kinetic energy core that adapted to environmental threats, reinforcing his body with strength when needed and cloaking him in invisibility when stealth was the wiser path. His left arm could morph into various tools, blades, cannons, grappling hooks, while his right held a gauntlet with ancient nanotechnology capable of healing wounds and hacking into abandoned systems. But the true danger wasn't just the planet's wildlife. There were others. Exiled soldiers like him, twisted by rage, despair, or madness. Some formed savage clans. Others became warlords of ruin, ruling over territories with armies of mutated beasts. A few whispered about the Oblivion Lords, a group of exiled commanders who found alien artifacts beneath the planet's crust and used them to become something more than human. Captain Hunab Ku refused to fall into that darkness. Instead, he sought allies among the exiled, gathering warriors who still remembered honor. In hidden caves, old ruins, and the shattered remains of lost colonies, he began to build a resistance. His dream was simple but nearly impossible: survive, unite, and one day strike back against those who had cast them away. The day would come when the corrupt generals would hear the name Hunab Ku again. And when they did, it would not be as a whisper. It would be as a war cry. The first step toward reclaiming his destiny began when Captain Hunab-ku discovered an ancient monolith buried beneath the jagged cliffs of Uxmal 9. Covered in alien runes and pulsing with a faint inner light, the monolith was a remnant of a civilization so old that even the planet's most savage creatures revered it. Hunab-ku, guided by instinct and hard-won wisdom, realized the monolith was not merely a relic, it was a gate, a beacon, a weapon. With patience and determination, he unlocked its secrets. The monolith sang to him in dreams, revealing star maps, energy conduits, and the hidden powers that had once shaped galaxies. His armor, attuned to his body and mind, adapted again, absorbing fragments of the ancient technology. It grew stronger, more intelligent, becoming almost symbiotic, a fusion of human ingenuity and cosmic mystery. One night, under the pale, shimmering light of Xibalba 9's twin moons, Captain Hunab-ku and a small band of exiles launched their first major strike. Their target, an old military outpost, once abandoned but now overrun by the warlord known as General Karen, a former colonel-turned-tyrant, who ruled a vast swath of the southern Badlands with an iron fist. Karen had scavenged alien technology, fusing it with his own armor to create monstrous war machines. His fortress, known as the Citadel of Ash, was both a prison and a weapons factory, where exiles were enslaved and experimented on. Hunab-ku could not allow such evil to spread unchecked. He knew that if he could free the prisoners and claim the outpost, it would be the first real victory in uniting the scattered exiles into an army. The approach to the citadel was treacherous, acidic swamps, fields riddled with bone traps, and sentries equipped with thermal drones. Hunab-ku led his squad with surgical precision, using his armor's adaptive cloaking to evade patrols and strike silently. His team was small, only 6, but each one a hardened survivor. Hunab-ku began gathering an army, not of men, but of creatures and beings who had suffered under the same brutal hand of conquest. There were the Skrull, towering beasts of horn and muscle, the Valethi, swift, insectoid scouts who could vanish in the blink of an eye, and the Nivara, ethereal warriors who manipulated light and shadow as weapons. To them, Hunab-ku was not merely a man, he was a champion, a bridge between the broken and the brave. He united the wild tribes with a vision, freedom, revenge, justice. Through months of brutal campaigns against the more vicious predators of Uxmal 9, he forged his army in blood and fire. Their loyalty to him was absolute. They painted his sigil, a blazing star wrapped in a serpent's coil, across their bodies, across their banners, and across the ruins they conquered. News of the citadel's fall spread like wildfire across the exiled territories of Xibalba 9. In hidden caves, among shattered ruins, and across the broken wastelands, survivors and outlaws spoke the name Hunab-ku with a newfound reverence. For the first time in decades, the exiles had hope. Within the charred remains of the Citadel of Ash, Hunab-ku and his allies established their first stronghold, Bastion Redoubt. It became a beacon, a place where outcasts could gather, regroup, and rebuild. Under Hunab-ku's leadership, Bastion Redoubt was fortified with scavenged technology, salvaged mechs, and the ingenuity of hundreds who had once been abandoned to die. Yet Hunab-ku knew better than to think victory would come easily. The fall of General Karen had not gone unnoticed by the powers ruling the colonies. From orbit above Xibalba 9, the Sovereign Military Directorate, the very regime Hunab-ku had rebelled against, watched with growing concern. They dispatched special purge squads, genetically enhanced assassins, and mercenary armies to crush the uprising before it could spread beyond the Forsaken Planet. As the twin suns of Uxmal 9 set one evening, their blood-red light bathing the land, Captain Hunab Ku stood atop a cliff with his assembled forces below. His voice, augmented by the power of the monolith and the ancient technology, echoed across the valleys. "Tonight, we are no longer prisoners of a dead world. We are the storm that will shake the heavens." And so, the war to reclaim his honor, and to tear down the empire that betrayed him, had truly begun. The first challenge to leaving Uxmal 9 was as immense as the world itself. There were no working starships, no signals to call for help, and no mercy from the void above. Captain Hunab Ku knew that to escape, he would have to build his own path, one that would defy the very laws that had kept him imprisoned. From the fallen wreckage of ancient alien machines and the skeletal remains of crashed human transports, he and his army constructed a massive forge city called Collecton, the heart of the lost in the old Velethi tongue. Powered by the monolith's endless energy and the ceaseless labor of thousands, Collecton became a miracle of savage ingenuity, a fortress and a shipyard blended into one. Under Hunab Ku's leadership, they began to craft a vessel unlike anything the human colonies had ever imagined, the Serpent Star. Part battleship, part living organism, the Serpent Star was forged with a living core drawn from the monolith's alien power. Its hull shimmered with scales of adaptive armor. Its engines breathed plasma and dark energy. It was not merely built to fly, it was built to conquer.